Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Coast to Coast Traders Podcast. I'm Robbie.
And I'm Flexing Joe. What's up, man?
Not much. How have you been?
I've been good, dude. It is 77 degrees here. Like, oh my God. Finally.
Ooh, nice.
Finally,
You
springtime
finally
is
getting the
here.
heat.
Yeah, springtime is here, dude. The daffodils are blooming in the front. Birds are chirping.
Oh, nice.
Oh my God, dude. Finally out of winter. No more snow. I hope.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've been a little bit of doing some gardening here. I got this cactus in the backyard that's about filling up about a truck and a half. I've just been putting it in the green cans over the last couple of weeks.
Nice.
But I think next week it might be finally gone. Oh man, but we got some good stuff to talk about. We're doing a little bit of a different format this time. I mean, it's the same as usual, but you and I usually have our pregame. But I thought maybe we might just do things a little more raw, and just have our talking points and just maybe react a little more like because when we talk about it in the pregame versus when we do it now, it's like we already had like a good reaction, but I think sometimes it's hard to replicate that. And some of the things that we're talking about today, I think, I think they're just going to be better on the first go.
Yeah, for sure. So we're just going to raw dog it, everybody. We're just going in.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess maybe I'll start with my rant, you think?
Yeah, bro. Go for it, man. Just whatever you want to talk about, bro. What do you want to rant about?
Yeah. So I've just been thinking recently about how the market gaps up and down. And, we shouldn't really have the victim mentality about market manipulation and that sort of stuff because it's certainly beyond our control. And nothing we can do about it. We have to react as traders as it is. But it really bothered me on Tuesday for some reason because in my mind, it felt very, very bearish on the day, especially like after lunch when we were starting to break under the opening range. And we don't necessarily have to look at any charts to talk about this because this is just could be any day really. But we didn't get any large trend. In fact, we kind of him-hawed. We even popped back over the opening range low for a little bit, and then it was just kind of weak. And then the market, the session closed. And next thing you know, when the session opened, we gapped down like I think maybe 150, 200 points, and then pushed down quite a bit further. I'm just thinking to myself, like, I don't know that it's realistic that there should be gaps on the chart, at least on the futures, like because I mean I know compared to like options and things, in a sense, it is like I mean, there's no Greeks, so like what really changed in the hour that the session closed to when it opened for them to suddenly tank it? Because I don't remember that there was any significant news, and if there was news, then that would make sense in some regards. But like, it just feels to me like it's just one way for them to gotcha,
Yeah, it's overly manipulative. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because like the gap down, I feel like we were priming to have a good move on that day, and it just never came. And it just didn't. To me, it just really didn't make sense why price action was like stalling and just not really moving when it felt like it really wanted to go down. And so like it was like, okay, the session opened, the gap's down. I was like, I freaking knew it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm just looking like while you're talking, I'm looking at the NQ chart. I just got like a just a 30-minute chart here, naked, no indicators, right? And I'm just looking at like, there was a lot of talk over the weekend about like the tariffs and everything and some things lightening up, right? And we gapped up and then like this candle, like in the first 30 minutes, we dropped 300 points. And then we, essentially just basically had this like double top. I mean, I guess you could call it a triple top if you will, but pre-market high just barely broke it. Then in regular trading hours couldn't do nothing and it flushes, right? And we didn't come back up there to test it all week. And then it's like, well, like you said, like we had this enormous gap up and then what, for nothing, like only to end up gapping back down.
Yeah, and actually now looking at it like that, it looks like, well, because we already filled the gap the prior day, but like I don't know, man. Just something about it rubbed me the wrong way. Usually, I don't really care too much or even think about it, but maybe I was just in a little bit of a mood last week where it hit me harder.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, there's just the world and everything is evolving very quickly with tariffs and the constant news. And, like there was like what was perceived as bullish news with like Nvidia, I think pledging like $500 billion to build on,
Hmm.
like a factory on US soil. And then it was like, well, that's great for Nvidia, right? And everyone's like, Nvidia. And then it's like, oh, but wait a second, you still can't export your chips. Like, and then there's like an additional tariff or you're not exempt. And it was like Nvidia just literally like tanked. And
Yeah,
maybe that's what happened right here. I can't remember the exact days for like all of these news. It's like really hard to keep up with.
yeah,
I just do remember for sure, like this was Powell speaking here on Wednesday. It was a short week this week. We had Good
yeah.
Friday. Good Friday, the market was closed for Easter. So, I'm really curious to see what happens on Sunday. And then, just everything. I mean, Netflix had earnings too on Thursday, right after the close, and it popped. But these
Hmm.
the gaps and the volatility, man, they still do not disappoint.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like trading wise, it was quite a bit of a tough week for me. Like, it was green on the week, but
Hmm.
I definitely got my butt handed to me in some of the chop.
Yeah,
And I remember talking to you Thursday morning.
yeah,
Maybe I didn't actually mention it to you till later on in the day, but my initial thought on the morning was like, dude, I don't know if I should trade today because like
yeah,
I was looking at the 30-minute chart just like you have there on NQ, just looking at what it was doing in pre-market and just those awful wicks right there, man. Like
yeah.
those candles, eh, it just like, dude, we're about to have some shenanigans today, bro. And
Hmm.
that's exactly what we got. Because yeah, there were definitely a couple of setups, but like it took me too long to realize what was going on, and so yeah, I didn't have a fantastic day. It was okay on Thursday, but it was rough for
Well,
sure.
it was definitely some crap, dude. Because like, how does Powell start talking and he sends it down, and then
Hmm.
like this up move here in the last 30 minutes into the close was 260 points. Like,
Yeah,
like what is this? And then like it just goes up, and then by the time you end up getting through the rest of the day, you basically were just like chopping inside of this range. Like we literally just
right.
stayed for the most part, we stayed inside of the Powell talking range. Like we tried to peek above, and then like I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, like, so what's gonna happen here? And nobody knows, right? Like depending on whatever the news is over the weekend, we get any news that China made a deal, bro, and it's gonna be one of those epic gap ups.
oh for sure. Yeah, can you pop up the daily really quick? Because that's an awful looking daily candle on NQ there. Just after everything that we just went through.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on, bro.
Mm-hmm.
What is this?
Yeah.
It's almost as bad as it was 2 days before.
Yeah. Look, this is
Yeah, it's the
literally
same
like
dang thing.
same thing.
It's the same thing. Two like red hammers and then just a weak doji.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Oh man.
it's definitely. I mean, so like if patterns repeat themselves, I mean, these ones were tighter too. These two candles were tighter, and then we dropped down. We have like bigger
Mhm.
candles of the same thing, but like I don't know, man. Like I feel like the longer I look at this chart, it starts to look like this. Like I'm like, okay, well, like okay, I see this, right? And then I'd be like, well, I mean, I see this too. And
Oh
then
yeah.
oh, but then wait a second, like these connect kind of nice, right? And then I'd start like, and
Yeah.
then I'm like, well, what are we doing? And then we look over here, let me look, and I'm like, oh, we got this with like, hey, we held this low, right? So like, okay, well, we
Yeah.
swept under here. Look, we swept under here and we couldn't close here. So now it's looking good. And then like I just am like, all right. And then before long, it just basically is looking like, like that freaking meme. You know what I mean? Where it's just
Yeah.
like, and the guy's like crazy eyed and he's like, look, it's bullish.
Yeah. For sure, dude. Yeah, it's like, and like the thing is regular TA right now, like
I don't know.
I'm not gonna say throw it out the window, but like because we're so news driven right now, it's
Hmm.
hard to really say that the traditional TA patterns, wedges, drawings, whatever are are really going to do much other than just look nice. Maybe in
Hmm.
hindsight that it actually worked or bounced or something. Because yeah, at any moment's notice, the slightest tweet or press conference or whatever is going to just send the market reeling one way or another.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this was definitely a really strong like weekly candle, and it is good that we, did. I mean, it's inside week, so we ended on an
Yeah.
inside day, short week. We had an inside week. We're holding above the 50%, so holding above the golden zone on this bullish candle here, and maybe it does just sort of curl, but this doesn't look good. Like I kind of feel like odds are it goes down versus like, all right, let me like take a
Yeah,
swing position long, which it's tough to say because the market is inherently designed to go up, right?
for sure. But you know what though? First green candle, baby.
Yep.
That
Oh,
weekly chart.
oh yeah. Yeah, like we talked about in last week. If you didn't watch last week's episode, you have to go back and watch it. But that first look,
Yeah.
first green candle, this one was
Like,
tough,
cause
but it
if
worked.
this was like a 5 minute, and then that green candle was printed like it did, and you set an ask right in the wick somewhere, you probably
Mhm.
just got filled, maybe risking to the
Mm.
top of it, and now riding the way down.
Yep. Yeah, I actually have an alert set at this week's high. I wanted to see what
Hmm.
would happen when we break it, but yep. Like basically pulls back into the daily 9 EMA there. And this week is like you said, if this was a 5 minute or even a 2 minute chart, it's like, okay, well, I see that they're failing to flip the candle by candle, and a pullback into this area would be prime for a short. I feel like
Yeah.
18
Yeah, I agree for sure.
940s, 18 970s, that whole range. Any really anything inside of this upper wick, and I wouldn't be sold that it's not a short until we get at least daily candles closing up over here. You know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
wonder.
agree.
I wonder how much different. I just want to see how much different does it look if we take off extended hours. It looks a little
Oh
bit
yeah.
different. No extended hours on the weekly. No extended hours on the daily. Oh my god, that's gross.
Oh man, it like does look worse.
Yeah, it does look even worse without the extended hours on. So,
Yeah.
oh yeah, but so sorry you had a rough trading week. It was a slower week for me too, man.
Hmm.
Definitely some smaller days, just trying to like stack up. Like we talked about with like Apex. Really trying to be very, very consistent there, as I feel as if I don't think almost everybody knows they're probably the number one prop firm to deny payouts, it seems. Drag their
Yeah.
feet on their payouts, leave you in under review for a long time. So, my first payout request got denied from them. They cited improper risk management, which I definitely knew was going to happen because I had one trade where it wicked down on me real fast, and within like seconds, it was like right back up. And
Yeah.
afterwards, I realized, I think that one wicked down too far on me because it was early on in the account status. So like that's when like they have like this they have this 30% profit rule. Like the trade, like one trade shouldn't come down and potentially be negative more than 30% of your total account balance or like available drawdown. So like, if you had 3K drawdown, 30%, so $900, you shouldn't be go
Yep.
negative more than 900, right? And so it was very early on in
Right.
the account. And they also have trailing drawdown. So it was like a victim of the trail and everything. Cause at first it popped up and then it went down and then it was like, whoop, whoop, and almost like right to the
Hmm.
profit target. So, anyways, I denied
Yeah.
that one, the first one, whatever, and then like I literally just across the next 8 days was super, super consistent trading micros. So
Hmm.
made more than enough, more than another 2K. Requested the 2K that I made. Let's see what happens. Fingers
Yeah. You
crossed.
want to talk about that really quick? The unspoken game that Apex is playing with the denial. So when you have the denial and then you have a consistent 8 days
Hmm.
and you request a payout, they'll deny that because they're looking at the previous week.
Yeah. So like, if you have your first payout denied, I think that's what you're talking about. Like, if you have your first payout
Hmm.
denied. So when you go to request your next payout, you can only request the profits that you've made in that 8 day period. So like in order to be eligible to request a payout, you have to have 5 days where you made more than $100, and you have to have traded all 8 days. So you could have 3 red days, and let's say your 3 red days are minus $100 each, and your 3 green days are I'm sorry, 3 red days are minus $100 each, you know, something small, and your 5 green days, you made $300 per. So you're up 1,500 over here, you're down 300 there. You're really only up $1,200. So on the 50K accounts, you then only should request the 1,200 because that's the money you've made in that window. If you request an amount that's larger than that, they will then look back into the prior windows and then deny you again. So that's where, like, in watching this video explanation of it, that's where, like, people would get denied for 2 payouts and then they would get approved on the third. And it was like, well, I didn't do anything different between the second and the third. No, you didn't, but you also requested too much profits. Like, those profits in that first window are kind of like locked, and then they become, allegedly, according to this video, they become unlocked after your second payout gets approved. So, like, in my case, you know, or in anyone's case, like in this example that I have, right? Like, you already had 5K in profit. You just made another $1,200 across those 8 days. Just request a 1,200 or slightly under, you know, just to make sure it clears. And you theoretically, if everything was good and you weren't like DCAing like a madman and just doing kind of crazy stuff, and you were very consistent with the strategy, their explanation is you should get approved. And then following that, continue that same process. And even if you only made another 1,200 across the next 8 days, you would then be able to request the full 2K, assuming a 50K account, the 2K, because now they're going to say, okay, well, like, you're green in this period and you have all these profits, so you can have it. You can have what you've requested, because it kind of like washes that out. That was the explanation of it. I'm obviously like living it right now, so we'll see what happens. But like, I cannot imagine getting told that I'm going to get denied in this payout cycle, because I traded a very limited number of micros. I had one instance where, you know, because I was typically trading only 4 micros, I had one instance where I double clicked accidentally. I ended up with 8 micros, and I scaled out 5 micros like very fast, just because I was like, okay, I got to de-risk. Like, I wasn't intending on being in this many micros, and took a whole bunch off. And of course, what happened, that trade ended up being like a very large winner, where I was just kind of like, man, if I would have had like an extra micro to scale here, this would be great, you know. But I wasn't trying to make a whole ton in a day either. Like, I was trying to just be like, okay, $300, shut it down. 250, shut it down. Like, just consistent, just very consistent. And I did have that one day where I had the copier malfunction, and one account went down like $700, but like, again, that's not more than a third of my profit or 30% of my profit at all, because I was at like, I don't know, 55 and change after the loss of like $700, and then I slowly clawed my way back and finished that day minus $11. So I think, like, you said it too when we were talking about it. You were like, bro, you won, shut it down. And that's exactly what I did. There was no questioning it, no nothing. Like, without commissions, I was green. With commissions, I was down $11. I was like, yeah, see ya, we're done. You know?
Yeah, because it's almost nothing worse than getting, you know, back red to green only to have it go red again.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. But it does make it challenging, man, because I don't feel like this is trading. I feel like I'm playing a different game. You know, I'm trading a strategy, I'm trading a system, and, you know, I'm like in scalping or whatever, just trying to make some, you know, quick profits back. All right, let me lock in $100, let me lock in 150, and just was slowly gaining it back. But I'm just playing a game at that point. I'm not trading the same way I am like on my cash account, and many of my prop account trades now are being copied with my cash account. At that point, I was like, no, I'm going to shut it off. We'll focus on this as one account.
Yeah, that makes sense. But no, I agree with you how it changes the way you trade, because now you're having to follow these rules. And then when you're trading multiple companies, each having their own different rules, could be easy to forget whose rules are which. So if you're copy trading, you definitely want to make sure you have the proper group set up, so you're not copy trading between different rules, you know, so you don't invalidate any trades as a result of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I mean, because it's tough too, like having like the my funded futures accounts have a 40% consistency rule, which is fine, honestly. Like, a few people have cited that to me, and I'm like, well, if you trade on Apex and they have a 30% consistency rule, 40% is more forgiving. So like that's not been an issue. And then the take profit trader is great because there's no consistency rule, and once you're over the threshold, you're getting paid out 80% of your profits.
Except rumor has it. Well, I mean, they've been talking about it. What's the CEO's name? Um, Michael something, I think.
Patek?
Anyway, yeah, Patek.
Oh, that's
Uh,
Top Step though.
Top Step. Oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Top Step, actually, they're thinking of adding a consistency rule on the fund accounts.
Yeah, so I've been seeing a lot of like chatter back and forth with that, but have you seen anything that's like finalized? Because it seems like there was another account just reposting like polls about it, asking people what they
Yeah, I forget
liked.
who that was, but it seemed like because he was also referencing the Patek person
Mm-hmm.
that's the direction they wanted to go. And so far, I haven't seen an email from Top Step yet about that.
Mm-hmm.
But if they do that, you know, it seems to me that if they do, it's kind of a response to the volatility right now,
Mm-hmm.
because you can see how potentially there'd be a lot people getting really good windfall trades as a
Mm-hmm.
result of the VIX being so high. And like we talked about last week, what used to be a base hit of maybe like 15 to 40 points for some people could have been like anywhere from like 50 to 100 points almost on a few days here recently.
Oh, for
And
sure.
so maybe this is a way for them to like, you know what? We need to curb this a little bit.
Yeah, for sure, man. Because I mean, we were talking about, there were sometimes like 10-point candles where it was like, oh, if you just get in on this candle, if you had a decent entry, like it was going to rocket up like 50 points in your favor. I mean, it was like obnoxious. I don't want to say it was easy, because trading
Right.
it was definitely hard, but it was just obnoxiously easy. Like how quick you would just get a scale. Like sometimes, and of course too, if you had a hard stop in there and it was too tight, you were getting instantly stopped. But there was other times where it was like, okay, I'm in, like, and it would be like target filled, and I'm like, well, okay,
Yeah.
I'll move my trail. I guess I'll move my stop up now. Like it's been 5 seconds.
Yeah, I don't
So
think I blinked yet, and you're already in
yeah,
profit.
yeah. I
It's a
know.
good feeling though, for sure, right? Like when that happens,
Hmm.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it seems like there's a saying too that like, oh, the best trades start working like almost instantly, and I think that obviously the context of that matters, right? That's not true for swing trades or long term investments, but
Right.
the like the scalps for sure. If I entered and I'm like, okay, I'm green. Oh, okay, it's been 30 seconds. I think I can move my stop up now. I already took in one or two targets. It's great, you know.
Yeah. In fact, actually, I think I just saw SMB Capital mention something like that on a
Hmm.
recent video,
Hmm.
and I agree. But do you think that just because a trade doesn't work instantly, and I guess instant is a variable that can be defined, but do you think if a trade doesn't work that quickly, it diminishes the quality of the trade? Like A plus only is instant.
No, because you
I
never.
didn't think so either.
No, because like you never know that until after the trade is over. Like, where your optimal entry may be based off of your systematic edge, right? But like
Yeah,
you do not know for sure if that was the optimal entry, or assuming, like, we're not talking about bottom ticking here. We're talking about like a reasonable entry. Like
yeah,
you don't know that until minutes, hours later, right? Like once you really see things develop and pan out, where you're like, damn, I really nailed that entry, or you're like, entry could have been a little bit tighter. And that's where, like, I know we're both doing it, man, like watching the video back and like
mhm,
of our trading, and because that way you can see exactly what you were seeing at the moment you entered, and being like, well, did I get the best entry for what I thought at the time? Or, did I get a really good entry and then the market was just like whippy for a bit and it makes it look worse when it's finally printed? You know?
yeah. Because we've also talked about having good habits
Mm-hmm.
that isn't scalable, but habits plus luck is like really cool because sometimes you do get lucky, and so yeah, it could be a situation where you got that entry and then it does rocket like you were also just talking about profit field. But
Yeah.
then other times the trade is just taking a little bit of time for it to develop before it actually makes that final move.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Exactly. And then other times, you get unlucky and you were long and you get stopped out, and then all of a sudden Trump says there's a tariff pause and the market goes ballistic, but you
mhm.
already got stopped out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
That happened last
Um,
week.
do you think that well, okay, so I wanted to ask like or talk about how you can hold for longer, but
Mm.
also how you can hold for more. And do you think those are the same question?
Um Not exactly. No, I don't think it's the same question. Like holding for
Yeah, no, me
more.
neither either.
Yeah, like longer, implies maybe like time frame wise, if you but like it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get more. Um
Yeah,
and obviously you
but
if
I
you
think it all.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you got it.
Well, I think it speaks to how we evolve as traders. I think too,
Sure.
and that's something that I've been thinking about a lot more recently with the volatility
Mhm.
and how in the future when things get back to whatever normal it is,
Yeah.
it makes me question. That I well maybe not question, but it makes me more confident that I will be able to hold for bigger moves. But with that said, I'm gonna have to open up my risk too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, and I think like understanding, what you're targeting, I guess, and having like what the trade plan is.
Hmm.
Most of the like it's tough, I think, for the majority of trades, especially like what we're doing, that we're like, we're on futures. Most of the time, like holding for like the entire move isn't always feasible. I mean, like, what do we get that's actually like a solid trend day? Like once a month? Like once a month where we just like repeatedly trend from
Yeah.
the low to the high. And that's assuming you catch like a good entry at the bottom and you have reason to hold it. A lot of times, and many other people have said this too. I'm kind of regurgitating it. The market
Hmm.
moves in the most like volatile and like wishy-washy way it can to the final destination in order to just like shake people out. It's not
Yeah.
like you really kind of have to reach a point, I think, too, of like where this money doesn't matter, right? Like it is what it is. And I think that like Tom Hugard from The Best Loser Wins is the prime example of that. But also, if you're listening to it, like you listen to his book on Audible, you read it, whatever, he like plugs his Telegram like many times. So he's just like, again, well, what's the money really matter to him if he's in a trade? He wants to see it like, here's where I think it's going to go. If it doesn't go there, like what well, he's still going to, maybe move to stop down or he's just like, whatever. But like, isn't he also getting paid for the Telegram service?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Exactly.
know? So it's hard, man. Like I think like for example, like I think we talked about it last week. I caught that like 500 pointer or whatever, right? On NQ. And
Yeah.
that shit was wild, dude. Like that's I don't know that I'll ever like catch anything like that again, and if I don't, I'm trying to look at the chart real quick. And if I don't, that's totally fine. But like when I took that trade, my original objective was like higher. Like I legitimately thought, "Hey, we're going to go higher." And of course,
Huh.
we did end up going higher, but
Yeah.
like once we hit the tariff news, right? But like from where I entered, or from like where the top was to where it pulled back, dude, it still pulled back 391 points from the highs, right? And like from my entry, roughly, it moved almost like 700 points that high, and I caught like 500 in that swing. So like,
Yeah.
imagine going up like 500 to let it come back down, that 391 and being like,
Hmm.
yeah, it's still good. Like, no, I don't know that it really is, right? And this is something we want to talk about too with the risk reward evolving, but like I can't reasonably sit through that and say like, yeah, we're still going to go higher. It looks good. The chart looked like shit.
Yeah. I agree, and that's actually a good segue to talk about a trade that we saw posted in the group chat,
Mhm. Mhm.
where this person went short with two micros,
Mhm.
and um, they posted where their profit target was, and it looked like they were just like ticks away from getting filled.
Yeah, like
And then ultimately they got stopped out. And they got stopped out. It was still a very profitable trade,
mhm.
but it came back 60 points. And if it was me, I'm thinking like, dude, no way. Like, obviously you want to let a trade breathe,
Mhm.
but if it's that close to your profit target, you bet your ass I'm already, especially if I have more than one, then at least I'm gonna maybe okay, I might not get this opportunity for them to hit that again. So I'm gonna nudge my target profit down a little bit
Mhm.
or trail, but I'm not gonna let the full position come back down to like the previous pivot.
Yeah, and it did literally, man. Like it pulled back like 55-ish points, against
Yeah,
them. And, and so like that's a crazy situation to be in, right? Absolutely crazy, right? Like let's just like role play this for a second, Robbie. You're the guy in that
yeah.
trade, okay?
Hmm.
And I'm watching you and I'm looking at you over your shoulder and I'm like, okay, well, like you just came within half a point of being filled. Now the chart's now moved up, back against you like 25 points, right?
Yeah,
And then like you see it start to move down now closer to your target. And then so now you're only like 10 points away or whatever. Because this is how it went. So now you're 10 points away. And you have your stop 45 points behind you, but you're 10 points away from your target. And I reach over your shoulder and I click exit and I exit the position on you. And you're like,
hmm.
what would you be? What would you do if I exited your position for you? What would you say? You'd probably be like, what the hell, Joe, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you'd be like, what, Joe, what the hell are you doing? And I'd be like,
Yeah,
oh. And so I just say, oh, my bad, Robbie. Let me just re-enter for you right here, and we'll put your stop where your stop was, and we'll put your target where your
yeah,
target was. And you'd be like,
yeah,
wait a second, I'm gonna target 10 points, risking 45.
yeah. Doesn't make any sense at all.
It doesn't make any sense at all. So like, when you get towards like, here's where I think the market's really gonna go. At a certain point, you just gotta start. You gotta start, in my opinion, and this is for what do you call it? Shit, what am I thinking, bro? What's the word? I'm drawing a blank. Oh my god.
For the sake of education here, guys, we're just saying
Entertainment.
what we might do.
Entertainment purposes only. Entertainment purposes only, because Joe is also 3,000 miles from Robbie and can't just reach over his shoulder and click exit. But like,
Yeah.
for entertainment purposes only, like in what world do you think it's cool? Like, hey, I'm gonna target 10, risking 45. Like that's not gonna pan out well for you long term, you know.
Yeah.
And you would
So that's where CBC comes into play. Like as the trade's going, like unless realistically I have a target, somewhere further up, where I think there's still meat on the bone. Okay, fine, I can hold for more, but I need to see CBC holding on some kind of time frame. And for me, it in almost every situation I can imagine,
mm-hmm.
a 60-point pullback is not something I'm going to accept for a trade to keep working on me. Because if it is going to work, then fine. I'd rather get stopped out higher and then retake it on the next leg.
Yep. Yeah, exactly, dude. Exactly. And like, the other part of it too, the part that like just did not make much sense to me either, looking at this trade, was, when you're looking at a chart and you're trading price action, there are certain just sort of objectives, if you will, right? Like targets, things that like the market likes to do, and the market, whether whatever you subscribe to mentally, whether it's like the market likes to go to areas of liquidity, or it likes to go over swing highs and swing lows and then chop, or whatever you want to say, right? You want to talk about structure, this, that, and the third. The market made a new low of day. Like that is a scale trigger. So like,
Sure.
So like to say, oh, okay, like the market made a new low of day, and then my target is another, I don't know, 15 something points below that. It's like, yeah, but why though? Like, why is your target 15 points under the low of day? And then to see that we make a new low of day by 14 and a half points, it's like, yo, what, like, should your stop not go to where the low of daybreak is? And then it's like, okay, well, if it jumps back up those 14 points, so be it, I get stopped. But if it keeps running, I'm here for it, baby. Right?
Yeah, exactly, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
we got to draw our line in the sand somewhere, and then there's been times where we've done that, and you get lucky,
mm-hmm.
and other times it's like, oh, I'm so glad I took profit there because it came back in an awful way.
Yeah. And for sure, bro. And like, I don't know how the rest of people feel listening to this, but it's not like the market's making it easy for me to extract profit. So like, if I know that one of those objectives, if you will, or one of those targets has been met, why am I not locking some of my profit in? Because now, if we consider the alternative, if he said, hey, well, you know what, we broke low of day, I took my scale, I moved my stop on the remainder to XYZ pivot. 50 points
Yeah,
higher.
different conversation.
Different conversation entirely. It's like, okay, I can see that we broke new low of day in RTH, but we didn't break the session low. You thought maybe we might go down to the session low, which we didn't, and then actually we ended up gapping down under that session low, so it was pretty crappy, like you said. But
Yeah.
like that makes sense. It's like, okay, like that's repeatable, that's
Yeah.
efficient, you know.
Yeah, but then um, how does that work out for his consistency and his live trailing drawdown? If that applies to this person, I don't know if it does, but if it did, well, then that's not going to work out for them in the long run because they're giving back way too much, even though it's still a green trade.
Yeah. That's a great point too about the live trailing drawdown. And there are some ways where live trailing drawdown can make you a better trader. And I think this situation is one of them because it
Yeah.
forces you to take profits at key inflection points on a chart.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like the greediness inside of us always wants more.
mhm,
And then we always feel bad when it comes back too. And then, like we talked about last week, when it comes back to break even or whatever it is, it's
mhm,
like, oh, maybe instead of just breaking even, it's going to go for more. And it's like, no, dude, this is your second chance to just cut the trade or whatever.
mhm.
So yeah, I have been a huge hater of the live trail and drawdown, but now I'm just accepting it as for what it is as a potential tool
Yep.
to just urge me to keep taking those profits.
Yep. It's the way to go, man. I mean, it's like, I know the old adage is like you don't go broke taking profits, but like at least that's a good thing to get in the habit of until you get away from that trailing drawdown, right? And
Yeah,
if that's a thing, depending on what you're trading with. But of course, if you're not trading that or you're trading your own cash, right? Like, I mean, hey, it's up to you. But I guess you have to define the rules that work for you, that work for your system, that work for your psychology. Are you
yeah,
going to be okay with it? Like, are you going to be able to review that trade a day later, a month later, a year later, and say, I'm okay with the fact that I was targeting here. I'm okay with the fact that I gave back 55 points on two cons. But like, for what? I mean, like to already be up. If you're up 150 something points on you only had two cons to begin with. Like, at what point are you thinking it's a good idea to scale here? Like,
yeah, exactly.
lock it up.
And
Yeah.
I'd be I'd be sweating if I didn't de-risk.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. It was a very interesting trade, anyways. It was because I don't know if you caught on to that chart, but there was a long trade. There was a long trade that was taken and I think this is the day. I'll probably be all right to show the day. So let me show this to you guys, right? So this is the particular day, and so there was a long trade taken in here in this general area,
I remember that actually.
and there was no profits taken, but a stop was taken here. And,
Oh, I didn't catch that. So then
yeah,
it was an instant flip.
and then there was a short trade taken like up there. So
Okay. Hmm.
so like long. I'm gonna guess the objective was probably to break high of day.
Yeah.
Obviously, that didn't hit. In here's like very obvious. Like, this is a
Hmm.
scale trigger over here.
Oh yeah.
This is a scale trigger. So in this situation here, this one was at 19089, and then what happens when it stopped? It stopped somewhere in this area, giving back about 50-ish points. So two cons there gave back about 50. And then when this low a day is broken, two cons here giving back about 55. Whereas,
Yeah.
like, had you taken the scale up here, instead of giving back a total of about 100 points, you only gave back 50. Taking the scale
Yep.
here, instead of giving back 110 or so, you only gave back 55. It
Yep.
On two micros, that's another $200. On Top Step, that's another winning day.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there was profit that was taken, so you're over the winning day threshold, anyways. But
Right.
$200 is $200. Like, if you're trading only two micros, like, that says a lot about what's going on with you and your trading, anyways, right? Like, that's very,
Hmm.
very small size. I mean,
Right.
that's the smallest size you can get and still have the ability to scale at least one time, right?
For sure.
So, like, just take the profit, dude. Don't be, just like, how freaking greedy you going to be when you're trading small size? Like, I guess I would.
Yeah,
I guess we. You know what? It would be interesting if we had the trader on and could ask them real life questions, such as, "Do you make this much money in a day at your real job?"
right.
Yeah.
Because the answer most likely is maybe.
Yeah. I mean,
200 a day is I mean it's I guess it's not it's definitely not out of the question today. It's probably pretty common.
yeah. I mean,
But
this would
but
have this one scale. Well, I guess this trade here from like I'm assuming a rough entry here around like 19,010. You would have
mhm,
scaled one out here for about 70 points. That's 140, and then you take the
yeah,
stop over here for another 30. So you're at that's 200, right? And then from
right.
here, it was up 150. That's another 300. You would get $300 there. So now you're at 200, and then the trail stop hits you.
Is this
You
a
know,
5 minute by the way?
this is a 10 minute. So
10 minute.
yeah.
Okay, so in like a couple of hours we're talking.
Hmm.
And so in that case the answer is most likely no.
No, I think it's definitely not right because that's
Yeah.
five minus, it's probably like maybe 650, $680 ish, depending on where the exact stops were. So that's a great day's earnings.
Yeah. So
And
hey Joe,
yeah,
I know there's this job that you can take. It's a work from home position and
yeah.
you know, you can make anywhere from like, you know, 200 to $600 an hour, maybe sometimes even more than that. But what are you interested in that? What do you think?
No, bro. No, I got better things to do. I got better things to do.
Okay, all right, that's cool. Good luck to you. Uh, I
Thanks.
mean, if you're talking about it in that sense, it's like, yeah, dude, obviously, right?
Yeah, no, just for sure. Like, just take your money, and I know probably beating a dead horse here for the audience, right? So, and you guys
Yeah.
understand it. But the last point to bring home here is like the scalability of this, right? Like, think about this logically. Think about the where this is at. If this is your your account, whether it's your cash account or whatever, how are you going to be able to like size this up long term? Long term, are you going to be able to consistently like give back this much in profit? I don't know what the average risk is. So like
Hmm.
long term, is this the most viable solution for you, right? When you only have two cons, right? Like, because as time was to go on, the way I envision this is when if you can you get in the habit of consistently taking profits at clear inflection points on the chart, you know, then you have the ability to start sizing up. And even if you size up to 3 micros and then you get in the habit of taking two off, okay, well, now I've taken two off, right? And then again, and then again, and again. And I also have to say, too, man, like, this was an interesting hold, too, right? Like, look at this chart. If you went short up here in this wick, and then went
Yeah.
down, like, this was a 66-point pullback from this low to the top of the green candle's high. So,
Yeah.
and then fortunately got this big move down of another 100 points. Like,
Hmm.
even still, dude, right? Because the target, what was this level? This is 18,943, and I think the ultimate target was like right here.
It was probably because just all I
Yeah,
remember was looking at the chart and seeing how the close the wick was.
yeah,
Like it wasn't zoomed in enough for me to see any gap, so it must have been like
right there,
literally a couple of ticks away.
right there, right. Yeah. So even at this point, it's kind of questionable because like this, you're less than 40 points away from your target, and you let it draw back on you 66.
Yeah.
So because even then, like hitting this is the 10-minute 200. So you re-broke the orb low, you hit the 10-minute 200, it comes back up to VWAP, and that's honestly a great entry as well.
Yeah.
So it's just all about scalability, guys. Like, what can you consistently do that you can then repeat and repeat and repeat, and then slowly size up, like 3 micros, win a bunch of trades, add pad to your account, go to 4, etc.
Yeah. Speaking of repeating though, Big Dip Bag Holder shared a trade with me on Thursday.
Oh damn, the big dip bag holder. What's good?
Well, it's about the same as we talked about before.
Oh
They
man.
they passed a combine.
Okay.
They
Okay.
were 800 they were up $800 in the day. And
On the XFA.
no, on the combine.
Okay.
And you know, they were just a little bit shy of that target to pass it,
Mm-hmm.
and they went short and it pulled back against them. Guess how many points?
100.
130.
Oh my god.
130, dude.
How many micros? How much size?
10. 10 micros.
10 micros, dude.
But they passed, so it's all good. They're going to activate this week. Because they were green, $800. It didn't blow them out.
Oh my dude, that's so close. I'm doing the math. 10 micros is $2,600. So they only had $200 of drawdown left.
Yeah, unfreaking So I'm asking this guy, and I'm like, bro, how do you think you're gonna trade in the XFA if you do indeed activate it?
What the
Considering that you just literally had a decent track. I mean, I don't know what his other trades were like. He didn't share that with me. In fact, I was kind of under the impression that they weren't trading because they're out of town.
Okay.
But you know, dude, how do you expect the XFA to go when you just threw out all risk out the window on this last trade?
Bro, it's
like, yeah, it's not going to go well.
It's probably not going to go all that well. And like circling back to the top step rules, I don't think people realize too, like people might need to go and actually read the terms and conditions. It specifically states if you start changing your trading practices in order to be eligible for a payout, that you can get banned. Like it specifically calls that out. So like, yeah.
Yeah, so my concern is that, history is going to repeat itself. He's going to get that funded account, and he's probably going to blow it in one day. Unfortunately, I really hope not. I've been begging this person to just try to trade that sim account for a while, and even actually try, because they asked me the other day, hey, what do you think about what if I just did like $300 a day over 5 days? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds absolutely fantastic. There's no rush. Like, that's what we've been trying to tell you for the longest time.
Right.
And then I'm like, also, maybe what if you did like $300 a day, and maybe try to pretend that you're trading at 25K instead of 50K.
Right.
Did I say 300 already, or did I say 500?
Yeah, you said 300 the first time.
Oh, okay. I think he asked for 500.
Yeah, dude.
But like either one is good, but like maybe it was 3 over 50 or 300 over 5 days. I don't remember, but anyway, it was a very reasonable question. But it's of course what we've been saying. Yeah, just get the consistent hit for the day. There's zero reason to rush it.
Yeah, like the longer I stay in the game and the more experience that I have with trading prop, the less I like the dollar goal amount, right? Like, don't strive to add a dollar amount or a percent amount to your account. And like, here's why. If you just were to focus on, I know this setup, I trust this setup, I've traded this setup, here's my risk. If I trade this setup repeatedly, like let's just say you go with $200 risk. Well, on a 50K account with most prop firms, that's 10 losing trades in a row. Let's round it down to 9 to account for slippage and commissions. Okay. What system have you backtested that has actually shown you're going to have 9 losing trades in a row to blow up? Right. So like, if you start to shift your focus away from the dollars and focus on the system, you start realizing that like, it's not always about the math. Like people get caught up in like, well, what's the RR need to be? Well, if I'm only making $200 in a trade and then I lose $200 in the next trade, I'm break even. Yeah. Okay. And you're still alive because like up until this point, what have you been doing? You've been blowing your money on XFAs. So even if it takes you a month to get to that payout, it's going to be very, very sweet when you get it. But like, hey, you didn't blow up. You weren't blowing up a bunch of eval accounts. You weren't blowing up funded accounts. Like you weren't bleeding money anymore. Like that in and of itself is a win. So then start focusing on that system, take the trades within that system, and like, look, like I can share from my own personal experience, like reviewing my trades, right? There are some trades where it's like they're green and it's like, well, I mean, it's barely a win. I made $30 or something because, one target hit and then like it came back and hit the stop and it was like basically a, break even. Okay, whatever. It's still in the system, like over time, the system is what's working and what's panning out. So like focus on that instead of just saying, oh, well, I want to make $300, because saying you want to start making $300 is what's going to trigger the negative emotional responses that he's already having, right? He let that trade go down 150 because he couldn't stand to take a loss. He couldn't stand. He couldn't stand the loss at 15 points. He couldn't stand the loss at 30 points. He couldn't stand that loss at 100 points. That's why he left. He just let it keep going. At a certain point, whether it was 50 points or 75 points, at a certain point, he was like, "Fuck it. This is either going to work or I'm going to start over." And like, terrible, terrible attitude to have. So,
yeah,
that same emotional response, looking at the P&L, is exactly what's going to get triggered trying to achieve a dollar amount every day.
Yeah.
And ask me how I know. So, like,
yeah, I know because we've done this.
Yeah,
we've
we
done
live
this
it.
time and time again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
Yep.
So I don't know. I'm not expecting much. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll update you with what happens. But yeah, I don't expect that there's going to be much going on with this. And I kind of, it's unfortunate that people keep blowing accounts like this serially
Yeah, it is.
because they're not thinking like, if this was my last $200 and I can't trade anymore, like I'm done. I'm out of the game. Are you gonna be that willy nilly with it? I hope
Right.
not.
Right. Yeah, I have a comment I'm going to reserve for off when we finish this up. But in regards to that, but I will say though, like, whether it's the guy who was, really itching for that last tick of profit and was greedy and let it roll back on him, or we're talking about the big dip bag holder, or we're talking about other traders that we're friendly with, nothing would make me happier. I mean, literally nothing would make me happier than to see them getting payouts and turning their trading around and saying, hey, you know what? I'm finally green on prop, right? Like, I'm more than green on prop. I am now a successful day trader. I'm green, right? Because it's so just, I don't know, liberating to move from that 95% bucket where people fail into that 5% of traders who are successful and make money in the market, right? It's just like a thing. And I want that for them so bad.
Good, dude.
Yes.
It feels so good. Like when you come to that realization that, yeah, I've been messing up, but dude, now I finally got the system, dude.
Yeah.
And it's working out. Like, yo, okay, like payouts aren't massive, but like I'm getting the payouts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's all that matters because you're sticking to your system.
That's all that matters. Like, and everybody, I think too, is like, it's just in the game. The game is designed to be like this because it's a game, right? The house, is really not a prop firm. They're a funding company. The house is the funding company, and they're trying to win, right? It's like being in Vegas. You're at a blackjack table. The odds aren't in your favor. It's not designed for you to win, right? Like, you see the minimum and the max bet. Your head does the math. If I bet the max, this is what my top return can be on blackjack at 1.5 to 1 or whatever, right? Like, you just know it. So everybody in their head, they're thinking top step. Oh, well, Cap, man, I want to get one of those max payouts of 5K. Bro, you've never had a payout. Shut up. Like,
here's 5 chips on the house, aka free reset.
Yeah, dude, do it again. Dude, it's like, stop. Let that shit go, please, for the love of God, and just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take back $500, right? Now, $500 covers your $49 fee for that account, the $149 fee, and then 6 other evals you failed, right? And if you haven't failed 6, then you're good. And if you failed 6 or more, well, hey, I'm working my way back. I'm clawing back, baby, and it feels good. And just keep chipping.
Yeah,
for
sure. Can we talk about how sometimes trading? Well, we talked about it briefly, but like, I feel like I sweat more trading and gaming than I do when I'm working out in the gym, or not at the gym, but like when I work out at home.
Bro, wait a second. Why are you sweating so much when you game?
Bro, my heart rate when I'm gaming is higher than when I'm exercising sometimes.
What?
I'll be sitting there in this game and I don't even realize it because I'm playing MOBA, so it's a 5 vs 5 game. A lot of crazy stuff's going on, and I'm fighting for my life in this game. And look over at my fitness band, it's like personal activity goal hit. I'm like, what, bro? What? I'm sitting here I'm the epitome of a freaking sweaty gamer, bro.
That's so funny, man. That's so funny. That's so funny.
But like even in trading too, sometimes I'll be like, "Damn, Robbie."
Yo. You'd be like, "Man, who is that?" And I look around, I'm like, "Shit, I'm home alone. That's me."
Yeah, it's funny, man. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's just like my mind's working in a certain way, and my heart's beating and
Mhm.
mind's racing, and
Mhm.
the body says, "All right, time to cool this guy down."
Yeah, for sure, dude, for sure. Like, there's a lot of times where I train in the morning, dude, and I'm just like in a wife beater or a tank top because I'm like, I'm trying to stay cool, you know?
Hmm.
But I feel you. Well, so like obviously it's super cold up here. So like either my gym is cold because it's wintertime or they keep the AC cranked in the summertime. So like I don't get a whole lot of like, oh my God, I'm like really sweating because like that's just not me. I'm not the type of guy to be in like 4 hoodies in the gym, like just trying to like sweat like I'm living in a sauna. I feel like claustrophobic, you know? Uh,
Yeah.
but I'm with you, dude. There's a lot of times where I sweat trading too. And you know what? I was expecting this as like a comment, and it's just like I could see somebody saying something to the effect of, well, like Joe, if you're a good trader and you're consistent and you have a process, like what are you sweating for? Like it's all just a game of probabilities and the things that we're just gonna play in the outcome. And like I don't know. The only answer I could come up with is just that like I just want to be really good at this. Like, and
Yeah.
so I take every trade that I take seriously.
Hmm.
Um, I want to be really, really good, and not to say that I'm better than anybody else. I don't care about the rest of you. In fact, if the rest of you make more money than me, like that's cool. I just want to know, like, in my own right, that I'm really good. So, like, every trade I'm taking, it's just like suddenly just like a burst of focus where I'm like scanning my charts, 5 minute chart, 10 minute chart, 30 minute chart, like looking, just like, are we still good? And I'm just like very focused, and that I think it just takes a lot,
And
you know?
also, just because you're sweating, I mean, we're human, right?
Yeah,
I, I'm when I'm in a trade, I'm looking at that 1 minute chart. I'm looking at it. Oh, and I'm thinking to
yeah,
myself, I don't know, is this like I'm
hmm
cautiously optimistic,
hmm
It doesn't mean I'm trading the way I'm gonna trade. It's just when I'm in, it's like, hey, it's in the chart's hands at this point, and all I can do is manage the trade. But I am, I'm still gonna think about it.
yeah, yeah. And I think too, like, I definitely, personally, definitely, reach a point where that those sort of feelings and stuff like die down when I know like, okay, I'm in a runner and like I'm gonna stop
Oh yeah.
here. I'm gonna stop here, or I'm gonna take target there or whatever. Like I've seen a trade like that, it's like really working.
Hmm.
But I think too, like this market hasn't been like that. And again, like the day of that copier like malfunction where like suddenly I ended up with like one account just being down while the rest of them were green. Like
Hmm.
that just like naturally made me sweat because I was just like, oh fuck, like there was so much more. But also it's because like it's not about like the dollar amount too, it's as much about like the game of apex trading that's coming into play there, where
Hmm.
then it was like a swirl of thoughts like, okay, how much drawdown am I in? Is this going to negatively affect my chances of a payout? I've already gotten one payout denied. Like, okay, like where am I at? And then why is the copier malfunctioning? All of that, like, shoot, let me like restart the computer, figure it all out. All of that stuff is just like it's a frenzy.
Yeah. Yeah. Restart before the damage gets worse. Like when you hear that connection loss sound, it's like,
Dude,
your heart sinks.
dude, yes,
That happened to me twice last week, and everything was fine. But it's like, no, don't you dare to do this to me, please,
yes,
please.
yes, yeah. And like you're running multiple connections on your Ninja Trader too, right? Because you have your like personal account and then you have the
Hmm.
take profit,
Take
right?
profit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I'm doing that too. Like I've got my personal account, I've got Take Profit, I've got Apex, and I've got my funded futures all on that
Yeah.
Ninja. So like at some points I have all of them connected. And then
Hmm.
typically after I've like finished trading a batch of them, like okay, like for example, Apex, these accounts are done. I will validate there's no orders on every account's like chart. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
good. There's no working orders, there's no nothing. I will like disconnect from Apex. But there's been times where like I have all
Yeah.
four of them open and I'll hear that
Mhm.
that fateful connection lost. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh
Uh
God,
huh.
which one was it? What's going
Yeah.
on?
Yeah. I forget when it was, but like I said that if I ever come over, I'm gonna have your wife help me change your
Yes,
ringtone to like order filled. That
yes,
connection loss would be equally bad.
yes, yes, dude. If I
Yeah.
if I reset my alarm for tomorrow morning to like connection lost or order submitted or something like that, I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
It would be so bad. But like, there's times where like that's my reaction if I'm in a trade. If I'm not in a trade and I hear it, I'm just like, oh, don't mess with me right now. Like,
Mhm.
I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. And
Yeah.
then it'll usually like play that like tune back when it reconnects. Does yours do
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
and I'm just like, well, which one of you a-holes was it? Was it Apex? Was it My Funded Futures? Was it TPT? It better not be my
Yeah,
live
and
account.
actually, Top Step isn't doesn't make the noise, but it's been freezing on me lately too, and now I got a little bit tilted because I missed some really good entries, which I was able to get later on a ladder, but like
Mm-hmm.
the chart was just freezing for whatever reason. You know, it's like I was changing time frames, and it just chart wouldn't update, and like by the time
Mm.
I closed Top Step, reopened it back up again, the move happened. I'm like, but like can't take the trade when the chart's not moving
Yeah.
because I don't know if I'm suddenly getting invalidated. So yeah, maybe I could have got lucky and just hit the slap the ask or sell or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, nah, dude.
No, it's way too risky for sure, especially in this with this volatility. You could just slap in and you don't even know where you got filled.
Yeah, for
Um
sure.
have you noticed that your charts have been doing a thing around like news, like where it'll kind of like pause and then you'll hear like the markets are open or something?
Yes.
Yeah, what's up with
Yeah,
that?
I don't know because it it says actually the message I think is market is closed for pre market,
Yeah.
and then it says like and then it's something like API reconnected. So I don't know what the heck's going on, but I've been getting that a little bit too.
That's so
And
weird
unfortunately,
because
I haven't been in any trades when that's happened, but it's like, oh, geez, dude.
like you're allowed to trade news on Top Step. Like, this is one of their things.
Right. hmm
Yo,
Yeah. So I don't know.
I mean, we got. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about Top Step another time. But dude, Top Step advertising as like the one rule firm was really cool last year. It is not cool this year. Like they have got a lot of rules, and like over the last 6 months, there's been multiple prompts to like sign the updated terms and conditions. You know what I mean? And it's like it's
Yeah.
no.
Stay tuned, gang, because we're gonna drop a bomb. Some of you already know, but we're
Yeah,
dropping a bomb.
yeah, we will for sure. But on that note, bro, what do you think? We good? Over an hour now. Damn.
Yeah, I think we're good. Appreciate you guys for liking and subscribing. We'll catch y'all on the next one.
Hell yeah, guys. See you later. Thanks for watching.